Hey, so today we're going to jump into the Hack the Box machine called Wifinetic. And Wifinetic is, as far as I know, Hack the Box's like first little dive into Wi-Fi hacking. Don't worry, it's not too hard. It should be a pretty short video. Also, apologize about the mess. I was working on a different project, but hopefully that's not too distracting. Okay, well, let's get into it. All right, so here we are. I've got our folder open called Wifinetic because I just like to stay organized. And I'm going to create a folder inside of here, call it scan. And from inside of scan, we're going to open up our terminal. Let's get that blown up there. You know, we should always start out by enumerating the target so we understand what's on the target, what our possible entry points are. So we're going to go nmap tech scv. It's going to run our basic nmap scripts as well as find out what versions are running on each of those ports. We're going to attack capital T5. That's going to put us into a very aggressive scanning state for nmap. And then we're going to provide nmap with that IP address of the target. Now, I'd also like to output this as an XML. We're going to go scan1.xml. And then, just for you guys, I'd like to beautify that. So we are going to use xsltproc, and we're going to take that scan1.xml file. We're going to output it as a scan1.html file. And now we're just going to go ahead and let that run. Shouldn't take too long because we chose an aggressive scan, and by default, because we didn't specify the ports, we should only be scanning the first, or not the first 1,000, but the 1,000 most used ports. All right, so it looks like we have some information back here. Let's go back to our scan folder and open up our scan1.html with Firefox. All right, let's blow that up. Okay, so we can see that we are running something on port 21 here. And what we're running is FTP. And that's the file transfer protocol. And that allows us to transfer files between a server and host. And it looks like we actually have anonymous login allowed on the FTP, which is interesting. That means that we can just log in as an anonymous user and not provide a password, and we get access to that the file shares that are there. And we also have SSH open. And we've got 53 open, but I'm not too worried about 53. So it looks like our best place to start is going to be in the FTP anonymous login. And we can see that we have access to all these files here. We've got migrate openwart, project great migration, backup openwart. That one seems really promising. We have employee wellness.pdf. Let's go ahead. So let's hop back in here. And let's open up a new tab. Let's go ahead and zoom in again. And I want to go back one folder to the Wifinetic folder. Then I'd like to make a loot folder. And then let's change into that loot folder. And now from inside of the loot folder here, let's go ahead and make an FTP folder. Seed into that folder. And now let's use FTP to connect to our target here. And now for the name, we're going to provide anonymous. Now that we're here, we can use ls, and we can see all these files that are being housed on the FTP server. Let's just grab all of these at once. We should be able to use mgit and then the asterisk there. Yes. Yep. All right, let's get off this. Clear that screen up. And now we should have all of our information right here. We can go ahead and we can open up, we can go through and open these up, see what they are. But before we get too deep into any of those things, what really interests me is a backup. Backups generally contain valuable information for us. Should we do tar, I believe it's XF, and we can go backup. And there we go. So our backup, when we decompress that, we get this etc folder, which is potentially really valuable. We've got config files, we've got like our etc password and etc shadow files that contain like you can find password hashes. So potentially a lot of good information there. So let's go ahead and open up that etc file. There we go. So we have an etc password. So let's take a look at that. This etc password file is a really good starting place for us to actually make a like a users list, because we have each of these usernames here. Potentially, if we're able to discover a password anywhere, we could go ahead and use this combined with like crackmap exec there and find a user that password belongs to. Let's use some Python to get rid of that, to strip off all this extra data that we don't need. Let's make a file in the directory behind us so I don't like start muddying up our etc file here. And I'm going to make that strip.py. And so now we have our strip.py file here. Let's open this up with VS Code here. Codium. Right. Yeah, sure. Yep. All right. So we just need this to be real quick. We're going to go with file, with open. We're going to provide the file path there. And I would like this in read, please. This file. So we're going to open up this file in read mode because we don't need to do anything with the file outside of read it. And then we're going to go and have a loop. So for line in file, because the file that we opened up is now going to be referred to as file user equals line dot. And so we're going to split on the colons. And then I would like the very first object from that split. Print user dot. Yeah, let's just, and then we can just print the user. Let's see if we can do that. Python 3, run our strip.py. Oh, I should have put quotes in there. That is my bad. Save that. I'm back over here. I wonder if it's having problems with me using the home directory like that. So let's do this instead. Root home. Pretty sure that's my whole thing there. What we can do, we should be able to do real path. Password. Yep, that's the full real path. So let's save that. Let's run this again. There we go. So now we've got this nice user list that prints out to the screen, but let's take that user list and let's put it in a file. I should really read before I run my commands. There we go. So now we should have this users.list file. Perfect. So now that we have a list of users, let's try and find some passwords. So let's see what else is in here. .shells profile, sysctl.conf. It's a config file. We have a key file, cert file. This config folder looks appealing to me. So let's check out what's in there. So we've got all these files, and I want to look through all of them quickly. So what I'm going to do is, let's read out all of them and pipe that through egrep. And I'm going to look for, let's look for user, pass. I guess key is valuable for us too. PSK, which is a pre-shared key. And let's do PWD and PWD. And now this should print out any matches within any of these files that has user, pass, key, PSK, or password. And then let's provide that with a context of 2. Right? So it looks like right here, we do have a pre-shared key, which is going to be our very unique Wi-Fi password 1. So let's make sure I highlight all of that. Let's copy it. And let's come in here and make a new folder, or excuse me, a new file. And this is going to be our passwords.list file. Let's paste it in there and save it. See, is there anything else that's useful for us here? Okay, so these are open wart passwords. That's good. Config logon root, proot. That doesn't look like an actual password to me, but we can hold on to it just in case. Let's get that open again. Let's make a new line, and let's save it. So before we go digging any more, let's take advantage of the fact that we already have potentially 2 passwords that we found. And let's see if there's any password reuse that's happened. So let's come back over here. And I want to do CME, short for crack map exec. And then we're going to do SSH. We're going to provide CME with our target IP address. TAC-U for our user list, which is going to be inside of our loot. Oops. And FTP user list. And then TAC-P for a password list. And that's also going to be in loot FTP. Perfect. And now we can just run that, and it should go through, and it should try all of our, it should try connecting via SSH with all of our users with each one of our possible passwords. And you can actually see that happening right here. So no luck on root. I didn't think it would be that easy, so that's fine. But I'm going to pause this recording, and I'll come back when it's done. All right, and we're back. So looks like NetAdmin actually had that same password. And this is called password reuse. It's something that we really want to avoid when we're looking to build a secure environment, especially if we are like an administrator of that environment. We really want to make sure that everything that we need to access has a different password from the next thing. But let's take advantage of password reuse in this case. Let's go ahead and copy that. And inside of my loot folder here, I'm just going to create a new text document. And I'm going to call this creds. Let's hop into my creds. Let's paste it in. SSH in as netadmin to our target. Oh, guess I didn't hit the @ sign. Yes, we accept. And now we're going to take this password here and paste it in. All right, so now we have a user.txt. And so we've got our user flag. Now our next step is to get root on this box and find our root flag. So let's see what is here in this directory, just real quick. We do have a bash history that's redirected to dev null. So there's nothing in bash history, so we can't escalate our privileges by looking for more passwords inside of bash history, unfortunately. Probably nothing in our cache, profile, bash RC, or bash logout. So I think our best bet is probably going back to our machine and spinning up a, either a Python server, PHP server, Ruby server, whatever, just a web server that allows us to grab like linpeas and see if we can run linpeas on here. So let's hop back over here. Let's see, where do I have peas? Roots.sh. There we go. Let's go there. Oh. All right, now that we're here, let's go ahead and start up a web server. Let's use Python again. No, Python 3, tac-m, http.server. And I want you to listen on port 8080. So we just ran Python 3. We loaded in our http.server module, and we are set up to be running our web server on port 8080. Now, from over here, we should be able to grab that file. So we're going to go curl http. All right, sorry there, had a little mishap, but stopped linpeas there so you can see what we did. So let's come back up here. So we're going to curl http :/ our IP address, and then we're going to specify the port with another colon 8080, and then another slash, and then we have our file name that we're going to download. And because it's a just a .sh file there, a bash file or a shell file, we can go ahead and pipe it straight into bash, and it'll start running. We don't need to actually make any file changes on the machine that could cause us to pop up in a Varonis alert or anything like that. So let's go ahead and run that. And it takes a while to run through everything, so I'll be back again. Now that we're back, linpeas is finished, and we can look through the results here. So what we're going to be looking for is red, yellow, or red. Anything less than that, we're not going to be that interested in. And let's look through all of it before we really try and pick an attack vector. Nothing yet. So we do have an interface that's running in monitor mode. So with monitor mode, we can actually use it to capture packets. And if we are broadcasting another network here, we can potentially do some wireless attacks, which is the whole point of this box. Now, linpeas grabs a lot of data. I think it's best to look through the entire linpeas file first before we start making any decisions, so we can get a bit of an understanding of what's going on. Oh, this is interesting. So, remember how I said that we had an interface in monitor mode there? So we actually have Reaver on this machine. And Reaver is a tool that's used for attacking wireless networks. And I believe the output should also include the wireless network's pre-shared key. So we could take a look at that. Right now, I think Reaver is probably our best bet. So let's take a look at our interfaces here. WLAN 2 is off, so it's not broadcasting anything. We do have Mon 0 in monitor mode. So let's see. So I guess we do. Let's try and see if we can get the password here for WLAN 1 using Reaver. So for Reaver, let's see, how do we use Reaver? So Reaver, we need our interface name. We need the BSID. And yeah, so let's give that a try and see what happens. Oh. And I believe that was Mon 0. And I don't remember our BSID, so we'd have to go back up here. Which should be this access point value right here. Let's pop that in. Let's run it. And there we go. So we were able to successfully complete a WPS pin attack. And what we get from that attack is not only access to the open WART network, but we also got our pre-shared key, which is this password right here. So let's go ahead and go back to our, let's see, our password list. Nah, I'm not going to do the password list. Let's create a document here, empty file. And we'll call that Open PSK. Let's drop that in there. Wart. Oh. There we go. I just want to make sure I keep track of things, you know, in case this isn't the final stage. Maybe the password's useless. Maybe the password gives us access to one of those many other users that we saw from linpeas. But let's go ahead and see about grabbing the users on this machine now. See, we're going to change directory to Etsy. Oh, excuse me. I forgot the slash there. Inside of here, we should have our password file, which we do right here. And if we read out that password file, got this nice list of users, but I only want users who have shell access. So you have Python on you, right? I think I remember seeing that from linpeas. So which Python? 3. Python is present. Yeah, okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to come here. Let's go to Wifinetic. Let's create another folder, and I'll call this payload. Let's call this remote strip. Let's kill this Python server. Let's see, where am I? Go to my desktop, go to the Wifinetic folder, then go to my payload folder. You know, we spun it up with Python last time, so now let's spin up a web server this time with PHP. Get some variety in here. So we're going to go PHP, tac capital S, and we're going to go 0.0.0.0, so it's going to be listening on all interfaces. And then we are going to, again, put this on port 8080. So here, we're going to import subprocess We're going to set the password to that password that we ended up grabbing from our Reaver attack. And then with our Etsy password file open as file, we're going to go through every single line, and we're going to check if the user in that line has a shell, specifically the bash shell. And if they do, we're going to take that user and we're going to split. We're going to take that line, actually, and we're going to split the very first section off, which should be the user section. And we're going to assign that to a variable called user. Then we're going to say, hey, we're testing this user. And then we're going to build our command that's going to be run there in the shell. And so we're going to go echo. And we're going to take our password that's up here. We're going to echo that password variable and pipe it in to our substitute user command here, which we've got a timeout of 2 set on so that we don't just sit there and wait if we got the wrong password, because I think we get 3 password attempts by default. And we're trying to substitute as that user variable and run a command, who am I? And if that command is successful, we should be able to have our output here contain a return code of 0. And so that we're just running a sub process where we run that command. It's read, the command is run as shell commands, and it's going to be sent to this output variable. Then we're going to go through and we're going to check for the return code equals 0 being present within our output. And then we're going to print that user if it is a return code of 0. And so this is just how we're going to set up our password spray. Let's hop back into here. And let's pull this down and pipe it in through Python 3. And so right there, you can see that we were testing the root. I'm not really sure why this password portion comes up, but we do get root here. Let's go ahead and log in as root. So we're going to go substitute user root, and we should be prompted for our password, which we have right here. Let's copy that over, hop in here, and now we are root. So let's go home, and we've got a root.txt there. We can cat that out. Yeah, so down in the description below, there's 2 affiliate links for Hack the Box. There's one for Hack the Box, the main platform, and then Hack the Box Academy. Anyways, feel free to check those out. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace.